Hey there, welcome back to How to Medicate. In this video we will cover one of the weirdest interactions a doctor can have during his consultation. For me it goes a bit like this. I start getting anxious, my breathing gets a little bit faster, my palms get sweaty, and the only thing I can think of is act normal, say something smart. You guessed it, it's when another doctor visits me as a patient. This is one of the weirdest interactions and therefore I thought it might interest you as well. So without further ado, how is it like for a doctor to visit another doctor? If you're meeting for the first time, my name is Raoul, I'm a medical doctor from the Netherlands and I'm making weekly medical videos to educate myself as well as you. And for this video you will not only be hearing my own opinion, but I asked several doctors for their opinion on the matter, all in order to make this video as complete as I possibly could. And from those mini interviews I did, we distilled that there are two types of doctors. Doctors that visit other doctors too often and doctors that almost never visit other doctors. The first group of doctors goes so often to another doctor because they spend a lifetime of learning everything that possibly could go wrong with the human body. And you see, medical study books and articles are a bit like diagnosing yourself with the usage of Dr. Google. If you ever did this, then you know that this always ends up with the most terrible disease you can possibly think of.
Dr. Google, I have a headache. I see headaches for troubling years. Yes, I have that. Why do I have a headache? Oh yes, stress. Yes, I have a lot of stress. Oh, when should I be worried? Decreased alertness, negative. Yes, I had a fever last week. Yes. Brain tumor. Do I have a brain tumor?
So this group of doctors is a little bit too careful with their own body and they underestimate Mother Nature. Usually our body can take a hit or two, and this always makes me think about my sweet grandmother. She used to say, humans, they are like rats. You have a lot of them and they are very hard to kill. But we doctors, we sometimes forget this. And therefore, even a mini version of hypochondria is very common under medical students and young doctors. There's also a second reason why those group of doctors visit other doctors too often. This is because we doctors have a distorted image of reality. Day in, day out, all of our working life, we are spending with sick humans, patients. And therefore we get the idea that all humans, except for we doctors, are always sick. Of course this isn't true and it's only a small portion of the population, but still dealing with this group constantly changes our worldview. You see, you and me and everybody out there sees the world in his or her own frame of reference. And unfortunately for us doctors, this frame is made up by diseases and their cures. And this brings us to the second group. The group of doctors that almost never visits another doctor. They are probably internally either struggling with the fear that if they would indeed visit another doctor, they would be diagnosed with a serious disease. Of course, this is not a good reason to not consult another doctor. Or they are too proud. Too proud to acknowledge that they need the help of another doctor. This group probably consists out of know-it-alls, with probably a high percentage of surgeons as well. And they believe they can interpret every symptom they experience correctly and sometimes will even prescribe themselves medication. They are totally convinced from the idea that they don't need any other specialist. But I hope it's clear that this is not the best approach to take. And no matter how good you are in your given specialization, no doctor knows everything. Besides that, the biggest problem is that you cannot look objectively to yourself. So when you're playing your own doctor, you're not objective. And this is also the reason why you shouldn't treat family members or other loved ones. Otherwise, emotions might interfere with your professional opinion, which will not lead to the best possible care. Hey there, small break. I hope you liked the video so far. Did you have any funny or crazy interactions with your doctor yourself? Then let us know in the comment section. Furthermore, if I can kindly persuade you to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, then feel free to do so, because it would help me out tremendously. This brings me to my own experiences of visiting another doctor as a patient. First of all, in my 3 bachelor years, I didn't perceive any real differences. I was just a literate layman without the experience any real doctor has. So no differences there. However, when doing my medical masters, I did 3 years of rotations, switching from rotation to rotation. And during these 3 years, I experienced some mini hypochondria myself. Every rotation I had some pains or minor complaints associated with that rotation. And as soon as the rotation was over, the complaints were over as well. And most of my classmates were dealing with the same kind of mini hypochondria. I think this was simply caused by the fact that we were spending more than 12 hours each day in the clinic seeing patients with exactly these symptoms or reading about it in our study books. Even though this sometimes was a bit difficult, it was to a certain extent also useful for me, because it gave me more insight in subjective and medically unexplainable complaints. It's fascinating how powerful the brain is and how it can cause sensations and complaints by you just thinking you have those complaints. But luckily for me, those complaints immediately vanished after finishing the rotation. And even though I knew they were psychosomatic, as that is called in medical terms, I sometimes still went and visited my GP for some reassurance. And this led to some funny interactions where he told me he went through the exact same thing when he was a medical student as well. So I guess it's one of those steps you need to go through in order to mature as a medical doctor. Besides hypochondria, there are more recurring topics when one doctor visits another doctor. You see, for just a few weeks I'm able to call myself a medical doctor. So there's still a lot I need to learn and there's a long way I still have to cover. But I notice it's very difficult for other doctors to exactly assess how much any given doctor knows. Therefore, mostly to be polite, they assume you know everything. So you're not given the full information any other given patient would be given. This is partially caused by the interaction between doctors. You see, you hover between the planes of the role of patient and the role of colleague. And this leads to much more informal conversation where one doctor gives advice to another doctor. So it's not the traditional patient-doctor role. But I have had some situations in which I needed to do some research back home because I wasn't given the full information. This lack of information can potentially be dangerous, and therefore I believe that we doctors should treat every patient, even though they are doctors, as a patient and give them the full explanation. And this brings us then to the conclusions. With 100% certainty, I can tell you that one doctor visiting another doctor as a patient remains a bit weird. You quickly address them as colleagues, creating this informal tension. You assume they exactly know what you're talking about, and therefore you will not provide them with all the information any other patient would be given. This means we are actually being subjective, just as when we would treat yourself or any other given relative or loved one. This therefore leads to inferior care. And this is why I'm calling all the doctors to treat any patient as a patient. Give them the full information and don't assume anything. This will result in doctors hearing a lot of things in the consultation room they already know. But repetition is the mother of all wisdom. Plus, there is a chance that they will hear some things they didn't know. And that's the whole point. This is the end of the video. I hope it gave you some insights in the weird interactions doctors have when they visit each other as patients. And because you made it so far, I have a bonus fact for you. I want to have you know that the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, doesn't really work. I've tried this for more than a year straight, bringing an apple to my consultation room, but the doctors still came. And that's it. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and as always, see you next week, when I will have a real treat for you. I will be making 4 Halloween specials, the first one coming next week on the topic, the top 5 most creepy medical treatments of history. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video. Bye bye.